Okay, today we are going to solve the ATP paper of Feb March variant 2025, right? So we know that in O levels and IGCSE now we have same types of question in ATP. So this is the paper of IGCSE because in IGCSE we have Feb March variant. So this is 2025 Feb March paper. So let's see what type of question we got in Feb March 25. So the first question. So in the first question, we have a student investigates the behavior of a spring and then uses the spring to determine the mass of an object. And the apparatus is shown in figure 1.1. So apparatus is given in the first question. The student suspends a mass of 100 gram from the spring. She measures and records in table 1.1. The stretch length is small l of the spring as indicated in figure 1.1. Describe two techniques for measuring the length of a spring, of the spring to ensure an accurate reading. You may draw a diagram. So this is the repeated idea in the past paper. And this is also like very easy method to explain. In notes, we already discussed. If you check the notes, you will find this information in the notes also. Let me show you again. Because when we are working with a sensitive apparatus normally, like a spring, pendulum, or any type of material like this, so we use the method of set square. So you can see we already discussed in the notes and it is also available in the notes. So we use the same type of setup. We just fix the ruler or the meter rule with iron stand and then place this set square in this form to measure the actual length of the spring or any type of object hanging with the string, thread, etc. Right? So that's why they ask you to draw the diagram to like explain your idea. Okay. So to explain your idea, if you want, you can draw your diagram. Otherwise, it is not compulsory. Okay, because it is mentioned you may draw a diagram. In some question, it is compulsory. Otherwise, it is not compulsory to draw a diagram. So let's suppose this is the spring and you have to measure the length of the spring, and the length of the spring is shown in the diagram also, the small l. You have to measure the length marked with small l. So we can use a ruler, set square, because if we place ruler parallel to the spring, so sometimes it is difficult to mark that round spring, because the spring is not like a vertical or a straight object, it is a round coil type material. So that's why it becomes sometimes difficult to measure the length. So what we do actually, first of all, if we consider the diagram, so in the diagram we have to consider a ruler. Let's suppose this is the ruler, and first of all we have to place the set square in any one of the position. Like first you can place at the bottom or you can place on the top, it's your choice. So first we record reading from this position, right? So we got one value. Let's suppose we got value A, and then you place this set square on the top one by one. We know that we cannot place both at a time because we have to read the value also. So one by one you can place at different position to record the reading, right? So this is the method. Because if we place a ruler parallel to the spring, so it is difficult to mark exact value on the meter rule. So that's why we use set square to mark the exact value one by one. So in answer also, we have to mention place ruler parallel to the spring and close to it, not very far away from it. And the second point is use a set square to mark points of top and bottom point of spring. Right? So basically, this is the simple method we use to measure the accurate length of the spring because it is mentioned to ensure an accurate reading. Because if they not ask about the accurate reading, so we just simply use ruler to measure the length. But when they mention accurate reading, so always remember we have to use the set square with ruler to record the actual length of any object. So this is the representation, right? This is the ruler, so you can record reading from the ruler easily. So this is like repeated idea in your questions. Next part. Now she repeats step A for values of M 200, 300, 400, 500. So there are different masses given in the table. Now we have to plot a graph of length against mass. Length is given in centimeter, mass is given in grams. So start the axis from the origin 0, 0 and draw a best fit straight line. The line might not go through origin. So it is not compulsory to draw from the origin or light. Uh, it is not compulsory for the line to pass through the origin, right? So we have to place M on x-axis. M means the quantity in grams and the length in centimeters on y-axis. Length in centimeters on y-axis. So on x-axis, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 large boxes. And the values are from 100 till 500. So we can just simply divide them like this. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. Simple. And for y-axis, we have the smallest value 6 and the largest value 21. So we have to cover all these values on y-axis. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes on y-axis also. And we have to cover value 21. So for example, if we divide like 5, 10, 15, 20, then 25. Now we have to plot the values. The first value is 106. 106. 100 and then we have 5. This is 6. The second value is 209.2. So this is 200 and this is 9. Then we have 313.6. 300, 11, 12, 13, 13.6. Because distribution is very simple, you can easily count the boxes. For example, if we starts from 0, so after two boxes we have 1, then two boxes 2, then 3, then 4. So after like two boxes we can mark one value. So it is easy to count. And same on the x-axis, we can count like one box equals to 10. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and so on till 100. So it is easy to count on x-axis and y-axis. Okay. Now we have a fourth point. Fourth point is 416.8. 400 and this is 15, 16, almost close to 17. This one. Last 521. 521. So these are all the points given in the graphical in the table. So we have to join them, and it is mentioned it is not compulsory for the line to pass through origin. So we have to just connect these points, and remember we have to make a best fit line. Best fit line means it is not compulsory to set all the points on a single line. You have to just show the trend of the graph. So for example, okay, so in this line, you can see we have 2 points on the top. So we have to correct this line. We have to distribute equally points on both sides. Like this. Okay. So you need to just draw a line. It is not compulsory to connect all the points. You have to draw with the sharp pencil. Right now on screen, I have a thick marker. So that's why line is slightly thick. But when you mark with sharp pencil, so it will be more accurate. So you just need to show the distribution of the graph and the values on the graph paper. Okay. As we already discussed, we need to show the trend of the graph only, not to connect or plot all the points on a single line. So this is the graphical representation. Then C part, use your graph to determine the length L naught of the spring with no load on it. So when there is no load, we have to find out the length L naught of the spring. So basically, we have to extend this line because it is mentioned when there is no load on it. No load means 0 grams. So if we extend this line, and we need to like this. No load means 0 grams. So this is 0 and this is the point. So this is 1, 1.5 because after two boxes, we have one value. So after three boxes, we have 1.5, 1.5 centimeter. Okay. Or if you make it more sharp, So you will get more accurate reading like this. So now it is 2. Okay. Basically, it depends upon the graph, that how you draw the graph. So it depends upon the line intersecting with y-axis. Then again, we have a very magnified diagram of a spring with the load. An object X is suspended from a spring. On figure 1.2, measure the stretch length Lx of the spring. So it is very simple. You remember we always used to measure with the help of ruler in this type of question. So we have to use ruler. And right now, again, I'm marking on the screen. So on paper, you will get different reading because on a screen, we have a zoom in, zoom out option. But right now, I'm getting 10.678. So you have to measure with ruler. When you got this diagram on the paper, so always remember you have to measure with ruler. And right now, I'm getting answer with the help of ruler 10.8. So when you like get the printout, so you will get different reading from my reading because I'm on screen, so I can zoom in, zoom out. So definitely results will be different. 10.8. But again, the important idea is to remember how we got this value. We got this value with the help of ruler. Second part, use graph and your reading from first part of D. Determine the mass of the object X. Show clearly on the graph how you how you obtain your answer. So from graph we know we have to find out the gradient, right? Or in other words, we got the length 10.8. So if you go through the graph again, so you already have length x is given on the graph and we got value 10.8. So if we identify 10.8 on the graph, so this is 10.8. This is 10.8, almost close to 11. So we have to extend this line. So this is the point. 210, 20, 30, 40. 240, right? So hint is already given in the question. You have to use the first part of the D and then you need to find out the final answer. Then we have E part of the question. Two students measure the mass of another object using same method and apparatus. One student records the mass as 132.6 grams. The other student records the mass as 130 grams. Now state and explain which answer has the more suitable number of significant figures for this experiment. So we have two answers, 130 and the second is 132.6. So basically in our answers, we normally used to write two or three significant figures. So the answer 130 grams gives you more suitable significant figures in the answer. So in his statement, 130 grams. So two significant figures are more suitable than four significant figures in 132.6. So this is the simple answer. So this is first question. That is easy one. Now second question is from the thermal. A student investigates the effect of insulation on the cooling of water. He uses the apparatus shown in figure 2.1. Beaker A is covered with a material that is thermal insulator. So beaker A is covered with thermal insulator, simple. And beaker B is identical to beaker A. So means both beakers have same dimensions, but there is no insulation for beaker B. You can see in the diagram also, we have insulation on beaker A, but no insulation on beaker B. We have magnified a diagram of the thermometer. It is mentioned record room temperature theta R on the thermometer. So the reading on the thermometer is 21, because if you count the box divisions, so 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, so one division equals to 1 degree Celsius. So that's why 21 degree Celsius. Second part, describe one technique used to ensure that room temperature reading is accurate as possible. So we have to mention one technique that the room temperature is accurate as possible. So we know that when we use thermometer or ruler, so there is a chance of getting parallax error. Okay. So always observe the thermometer reading from the front, right? Like this. If we observe from a different position, like if we observe from this point or any point above, so this is wrong method. It will give you inaccurate reading. This one is correct. So we always need to place our eye perpendicular to the thermometer to avoid parallax error. So take reading perpendicular to thermometer to avoid parallax error. And this is also mentioned in the notes about the parallax error. Now B part is the student pours 200 centimeter cube of hot water into beaker A and records the temperature theta at time t is equals to 0. He records in table 2.1 the temperature of the water in the beaker every 30 seconds. The student repeats the procedure for beaker B, and it is important that the temperatures are recorded at exactly every 30 seconds. So it is important to measure temperature after every 30 seconds. It is important. Describe a technique which will make it easier for the student to do that. So basically, a student pours 200 centimeter cube of hot water into the beaker A and records temperature theta at time t is equals to 0. It means initial temperature. Then uh, he records in table 2.1 the temperature of the water in the beaker every 30 seconds. So you can see after every 30 seconds, we have different values in beaker A and beaker B. So it is very simple. We have to fix or we have to place thermometer continuously in the beaker, right? So by using the stopwatch, we can easily measure the temperature after every 30 seconds, right? So we have to place because, for example, if you place thermometer in the beaker and record reading, then you remove the thermometer, so it gains uh, thermal reading from the surrounding. So that will give you a chance of error. So that's why you have to place thermometer throughout the experiment in the beaker and record reading after every 30 seconds. Simple. Now, write a conclusion stating whether the insulation affects the rate of cooling of water and justify your answer by referring the values from the results. So we already have readings in the table. First of all, we have beaker A with insulation and beaker B without insulation. So when we use insulation, so we observe that temperature drops like from 92 till 90, then 89, 87, 86, 85, then 85.5. And without insulation, 93, 90, 88, 87, 85, 84, 83. So like there is very minor difference between the drop of temperature, right? And for example, if we compare the initial value and the final value, like we started from 92.5 and dropped still 85.5. In the same way for beaker B, started from 93, ends up at 83. So let's see the temperature difference. So for beaker A, change in temperature is equals to 92.5 minus 85.5, which is equals to 7 degrees Celsius. And for beaker B, the difference in the temperature is 10 degrees. So it means that with insulation, temperature drops slowly, and without an insulation, temperature drops quickly. Okay, but the difference is very small, right? Like maybe there is a chance of error in the practical, because when we perform experiment, so always we got some errors, random error, human error, systematic error. So it is not compulsory that we always like perform 100% effective experiment. So there is not a very large difference between their values. So we can say that the insulation does not affect, or we can say negligible effect, the rate of cooling, because the values are close enough. But for example, if we have difference like of 10 degrees, 15 degrees, so then we can say that there is a like significance difference between the temperature drop. So using insulation is effective. But right now they are almost close to each other, so that's why there is no specific effect of insulation. Then we have D part, calculate the average cooling rate x1 during the first half of the experiment for the water in beaker B. Use the readings for beaker B from table 2.1 and the equation when T is equals to 90 seconds and theta 0 and theta 90 are the temperatures of the water in beaker B at time 0 and 90 seconds. Include the unit. So equation is given. So you just need to take the readings from the table to find out the value of x1. So at theta 0, value is 93. Then we have 90 seconds. So value is 87. So this is 93 minus 87. And the time duration is 90 seconds. So answer is almost equals to 0.067. Now include the unit. On the top we have degree Celsius. On the bottom we have seconds. So degree Celsius per second. In the same way, if we consider the second part, so we have another cooling average cooling rate during the second half of experiment for water in beaker B. Again, we have to use the reading, but this time we have to measure from 90 till 180. So from 90 we have value 87, and at 180 we have 83. Time duration again 90 seconds. This is the value of x2. Now a student suggests that for this type of experiment, the temperature of the water in each beaker at time t is equals to 0 must be same for the comparison to be fair. So this is the suggestion that for this type of experiment, the temperature of water in each beaker at time t is equals to 0 must be same. So it means initial temperature for every beaker must be same, right? For fair comparison. So now you have to use your answer from D part 1 and D part 2 to explain whether this is necessary. Because we observe that in our table, the starting values are different. Beaker A starts with different temperature. It is starting from 92.5 and beaker B starts from 93. So initial temperature is different because we are performing experiment related to the decrease in temperature. So that's why initial temperature must be same. So we can easily compare that how much the temperature drops from the starting point. So we say that yes, this suggestion is correct. So it is necessary to keep same temperature at time is equals to 0 because rate of cooling. Then part F, a student wants to eliminate from the comparison any thermal energy lost from the surface of the water. Suggest a change to the equipment which will do that. So basically we know that both beakers are open. So thermal energy also transfer to the surface, sorry, to the atmosphere. So definitely we need to cover the beaker because if we not cover the beaker, so definitely the thermal energy transfer to the surrounding also. So we have to use a lid or we have to cover on the beaker. Second part is suggest what effects this change will have on the cooling rates of water in beaker A and beaker B. So basically, rate of cooling decreases because now thermal energy is not emitting out very quickly because the container, the beaker is closed. So thermal energy only lost through the walls, not with the help of convection. So in simple words, we have to say that rate of cooling decreases. It means water cool down more slowly. Rate of cooling decreases as temperature of water drops slowly. Okay. Then we have a third part. A student investigates the refraction of a light by a transparent block, and student uses the ray trace sheet, which is given over here. Now the first part is the student places a transparent block ABCD near the center of the ray trace sheet as indicated in figure 3.1. Draw a normal to point N extending above AB. Label the upper end of the normal with letter L. So basically we have to draw a normal to point N, and we have to extend above AB. So this is point N and we have to extend above AB like this. And it is mentioned we have to write capital L at the upper end of the normal. Now the student draws line EN as shown in figure 3.1. On figure 3.1, measure the acute angle theta between the lines LN and EN. And it is also explained that acute angle is an angle less than 90 degree. So we have to measure angle between LN and EN. So this can be done with the help of protector. Okay. So we have to measure this angle. So for example, if we use a protector, you can place protector on a screen also to measure the angle accurately. Or for example, okay, right now on a screen, I don't have protectors, so we can use. Okay, for example, if you start counting, like this is 90 degree. We know that in protector, we have 90 degree in the center. So you can see this is 90 degree. So from 90 degree, you have to count it divisions on left hand side. So for example, this is the division on left hand side. This one, 50, right? So the angle between 50 and 90 is equals to 40, right? So this angle is 40 because in center we have 90 and this angle is 50. So the measured angle is 40. Now the B part, student places two pins P1, P2 on line EN as shown in figure 3.1. Measure the distance D between pins P1 and P2. Again, we have to use ruler to measure this distance D between P1 and P2. So this is the distance. Right now it is 5. According to the ruler on screen, it is 5. Second part, state whether the two pins are at a suitable distance apart for accurate ray tracing. Explain your answer. This is also repeated concept. I already shared a solved question in the group. So in that question, you will also get the same type of part of the question in that screenshots because it is related to the pins. And in the ATP short notes that I shared in the group, so on the second last page of that PDF file related to the short notes for ATP, You will find all the suitable suggestions and precautions related to the experiments of pins, right? So basically, it is mentioned whether two pins are at a suitable distance. So they are not at a suitable distance because we have to place pins as far away from each other, or like as long distance as possible, right? So this is not a suitable distance. We have to place pins as far away from each other or at the extreme points of the line, like at this point. So this is the suitable position, right? So distance must be greater. And now the student views the image of P1, P2 through the block. Now he places two pins P3, P4 so that P3 and P4 are and the images of P1, P2 all appear exactly one behind the other. Draw a line through P3 and P4. Extend this line to meet CD. So this is the instruction to draw a line through P3 and P4. Extend this line to meet CD. Like we have to connect these 2 points and it is passing through CD. Simple. Now label the point at which this line meets CD with letter F and label the lower end of this line with letter G. F and G. This is G. This is F. Now extend the line to approximately 5 centimeter below line CD. So we have to extend 5 centimeter below CD. Okay. So basically, we have to extend line EN. So let's continue that line EN from the top. So you can see EN is the top line. So we have to extend this line approximately 5 centimeter below CD. So this is approximately 5 centimeter. You can like mark with the help of ruler. It is simple. Like this is approximately 5 centimeter for me. And we have to mark these lines with letter H and the lower end of this line with J. So the top point H, lower point J. So this is H and this is J. So this is the simple instruction. Now again we have to measure the acute angle alpha between lines CD and GF. CD and GF. This one. because this is less than 90 degree. Other side is greater than 90 degree. If you consider this side, so this is greater than 90, right? So that's why it is mentioned acute angle, this one, which is smaller than 90. So again, if we take the help of the sniping to measure the angle, okay. So again, we have to measure the angle. So for example, this is the horizontal surface at 0. So from 0, this is 53, right? So 53 means if we start counting after 53, so you can see it is increasing in downward direction. So this angle is 53. 53 degree. And in the same way, measure angle beta. This is also acute angle between CD and JH. So this is for the other line, this one. Again, this is beta. Okay. If we measure, this is slightly different. It is 49. So there is a minor difference. This is 49. Again, we measure these both angles with the help of protractor, not from calculation, with the help of protractor. Now, a student suggests that angle alpha should be equals to angle beta, and it is like close to each other. So whether your result supports this suggestion, justify your answer by reference to the values from your result. So according to the results, values are very close to each other. So we can say that the statement is like correct, because there are some chances of experimental errors. So we can say yes, they are almost equal. Both angles alpha and beta are almost equal to each other. ठीक है, बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं है. Okay. E part, describe two techniques to use in this type of experiment to sure results are accurate. So this is also repeated idea. You will also find the answer of this question in that short notes. There are different options. Use like sharp lines or thin lines to get accurate readings, and pins must be vertical. So we have to place pins in vertical position, not like tilted one. And also use or record angle protector, because sometimes we are using a faulty protector, like marking on the protector is not correct, so we got different errors in the angle. And the last part, this is also repeated. Suggest one reason why different students all doing this experiment carefully may not obtain identical result. So definitely for every student, it is not like it is not easy to align all the pins. So we can say it is difficult to align pins. It is also shown in the notes. This is the experiment. So you can see this experiment is not very simple to perform practically. So that's why there is a chance of errors. Last planning question related to electricity. This is also repeated idea. This is not like a very new type of experiment. We have to investigate the resistance of a wire, plan an experiment. This is important line. Plan an experiment, which enables him to investigate how the length of a wire affects the resistance of the wire. So we have to compare the length of the wire with resistance of the wire. Very simple. So we have resistance formula given, and the formula for and the quantities given, potential difference and current in the wire. The other apparatus are also available: selection of wires, variable power supply, ammeter, voltmeter. So you have to list any additional apparatus if you need. So if any additional apparatus is needed, so you can mention also. So it is mentioned, investigate how the length of a wire affects the resistance of the wire. So selections of wire is already given. And yes, meter rule is not given to measure the length. So for the first part, apparatus, meter rule is not given. Because in question it is mentioned different length of the wires. So how we measure the length if there is no meter rule given? Now the second part is complete figure 4.1 to show a voltmeter connected to measure the potential difference across the wire. So we have to show the voltmeter in the circuit. And we know that voltmeter always connects in parallel. So this is the wire. This is the voltmeter. Simple. Now explain briefly how do you the experiment including the measurements to take so that the resistance can be determined. So we have to write the procedure. So definitely we select different length of the wires. So for procedure, it is very simple. So setup circuit as shown in diagram and use 10 centimeter length of a wire in the circuit, record the voltmeter and an ammeter reading to calculate resistance of 10 centimeter wire using equation. Equation is given in the question, right? We are not writing equation by ourselves. It is given in the question. Then we have to repeat the experiment. Repeat experiment with a different length of wires and record the value of R, basically the resistance. So this is the simple procedure. Then we have to mention this key variables, like which uh, quantity needs to be independent, dependent, and constant. So definitely length of the wire is independent because we are changing the length by ourselves. So this is independent. Resistance is dependent. And the voltage of power supply is constant. We are not changing the power supply voltage, that is same. So independent quantity is length of a wire. Dependent quantity is resistance because resistance is depending upon the length. And the constant value is voltage of power supply. Then we have a second last question. Draw a table and to mention all the quantities with column headings. Readings are not required. So according to the procedure, we know that in our table we have to set the value of the length of a wire, length in centimeters, then voltage in volts V, current I, resistance R. So these are the values for the table. And the final step is result or conclusion. So the result is we need to plot a graph of length of a wire on x-axis against the resistance on y-axis and using the graph representation drive relation between r and length, right? Because if we got a straight line, it means directly proportional. If we got uh exponential decrease or increase line, so it means they are not directly proportional, they are inversely proportional, etc. So this is the scenario, and this is the final question of this paper, right?